Hello and welcome back to anyone and everyone watching. This week, after a long and uneventful offseason for the ARCA Menard series, we were hit with one announcement after another, to the point that now on Friday, we pretty much know the entire driver lineup for the National Series, and it's, well, interesting to say the least. So in this video, I'm going to be recapping the entire ARCA silly season and giving my predictions on how each of the teams and drivers will perform in 2023. I'm also going to focus mainly on the National Series, but I'll also go over the East and West Series news, because at this point, it's all kind of pushed together. Also, a lot of the smaller family-owned teams in ARCA go far, far under the radar and sometimes don't even release their plans at all, so don't be surprised if I miss a few along the way. But without any further ado, let's get right into it. First up, all the way back in August of 2022, 3F Racing announced their late model driver Christopher Tate would compete in select ARCA events with sponsorship from T-Top Manufacturing. As an active U.S. Marine, Tate has had relatively little racing experience in the past few years, but most notably competed in the 2022 South Carolina 250, the limited late model event preceding the prestigious South Carolina 400, where he finished a respectable P16. ARCA will definitely be a big learning curve for him this year, but as long as he completes all the laps and doesn't get caught up in any crashes, I would call his season a success. The same month, Justin S. Carroll mentioned he'd be returning to ARCA with his own team part-time in 2023. In the past, Justin has raced in 6 national races and 21 East Series races, but some of those were combination events. All in all, he has tallied up 1 National Series top 10, along with 2 top 5s and 11 top 10s in the East Series. This past season, he also attempted to make his Truck Series debut for his own team, but failed to do so on numerous occasions. I'll definitely be rooting for him to have a change of luck in trucks if he's able to make another attempt this year. In early September, ARCA legend Brad Smith made it official he'd be returning for his 30th year in the series. Smith currently holds the record for the most starts in the series of any active driver at a whopping 405. However, because almost all of them have come with his own extremely underfunded team, he's only scored 2 top 10s. Both of them have come this decade due to ARCA's drastically decreasing field sizes. In fact, the most recent of those top 10s came in 2022 at Berlin, where Smith went behind the wall on lap 136 of 200 with handling issues. The dominant driver of the day, Daniel Dye, also finished 7th, even though electrical issues sent him to the garage 2 laps before the finish. Regardless, I hope to see Smith get another top 10 in 2023, but this time, for the sake of this series, hopefully under power. Brett also announced later down the road that he'll be fielding a second full-time car, the number 26, but a driver has yet to be decided. Greg Van Alst announced later on that he'll be returning full-time behind the wheel of his own number 35 car. He completed the full schedule for the first time last year, where he totaled 1 top 5 and 11 top 10s and brought to an impressive 5th place finish in the final standings. If all goes well, Greg might be able to score a few more top 5s on the intermediates and short tracks, and I think he might even be able to pick up his first career win on one of the super speedways. Then in mid-September, Dale Shearer announced he'd be bringing back his own team to competition for the first time since 2019. Dale's competed in 34 national ARCA races over the course of 11 years, and so far has not scored a single top 10, with the best finish of 11th coming in the 2016 Illinois State Fairgrounds race. This is pretty understandable, as Dale operates on a very low budget compared to his competition, similar to the previously mentioned Brad Smith or Wayne Peterson, so hopefully he'll have a good return to the sport and get that long-awaited top 10 in 2023. On October 17th, Mandy Chick stated her intent to run the full national ARCA schedule in 2023 behind the wheel of her family team's number 74 Chevrolet. She later received sponsorship from the school where she attends, Rose Holman Institute of Technology. She competed in her first 2 events this past season, at IRP where she got caught up in this crash, and at Milwaukee where she finished 16th, 3 laps off the pace, but still ahead of 5 other running cars. For her 2023 rookie season, I think her goal should be to get a handful of top 10s and mainly just to get experience by completing all the laps. A few days later, Logan Misiraka announced she'd be competing for Ben Kennedy Racing part-time with sponsorship from her own company, 1 in a Million Life. Logan's only raced once before in ARCA in the 2022 East Series Opener at New Smyrna, in which she finished a very solid 7th for Josh Williams Motorsports. Yeah, as in the Xfinity and Cup Series driver Josh Williams, I did not know he had an ARCA team either. I would say her goal should pretty much be similar to Mandy Chick's, just to get a couple top 10s under her belt and stay out of any crashes. After that, Fast Track Racing came out with their first driver for the 2023 season, John Garrett, who will be attempting the full schedule. Garrett made his first 3 ARCA starts in 2022, also for Fast Track, where he fared respectably with a best finish of 10th in the Fall Kansas race. He also finished all 3 running at the finish. That already speaks a good deal for his consistency and reliability as a driver. I think that, again, just like the previous 2 drivers, John should aim for a few more top 10s and just to complete all the laps. And pretty much by default, if he's running full-time, he should be guaranteed a top 10 in points for his rookie season. AJ Moyer, son of the late 1981 ARCA champion Larry Moyer, announced on Halloween that he'll be returning to Wayne Peterson's team part-time in the National Series. AJ's made 5 starts all for Peterson over the past 2 years, in which he scored his best finish of 9th in his debut at Toledo. But that's not to say the field was too strong at all, because AJ was 15 laps down. But in his defense, he's driving far from top-of-the-line equipment, so hopefully in 2023 he'll be able to stay out of trouble on track and score a few more top 10s by any means necessary. In November, Andy Jankowiak indirectly mentioned he'll be returning with his own number 73 car for at least his season opener at Daytona. After racing part-time in 2021 and 2022, Andy's totaled 6 top 10s in his 14 starts, with the best of 6 coming in this past season's Daytona race. Without a doubt, Andy's best on the super speedways and is almost always a threat to win on them, so if all goes well, he might be due for his first ever win in 2023. Later on, Joe Cooksey tweeted that he'll be racing the dirt tracks for fast track racing this coming season. On top of having competed in the then NASCAR Busch Series and Craftsman Truck Series, Cooksey's raced in the National ARCA Series since 1996. In his 145 total starts, he has a combined 16 top 5s and 57 top 10s, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I don't think this will be the season he gets his long-awaited first win. But nevertheless, Cooksey's on a dirt track hot streak, having scored 4 consecutive top 10s in his last 4 attempts at DuQuoin, so hopefully he'll be able to keep it going, or even up it a notch with the top 5, considering how big of wreckfest the ARCA dirt races have been in recent years. Right away in December, Club Racing announced their 2023 driver lineup, which will consist of Casey Carden behind the wheel for 5 races, Braden Lasser for both the super speedway events, and owner-driver Alex Clubb for the rest. Starting with Carden, he made his first 2 ARCA starts in 2022, getting off to a bad start with early brake failure at Mid-Ohio for Mullins Racing, but then recovering to a solid P15 at Watkins Glen for Club Racing. Lasser also ran the big tracks in 2022, which coincidentally were his first 2 ARCA starts as well. He came home P13 at Daytona before getting caught up in this crash at Talladega. And lastly, Alex Clubb, who's raced 32 times over the course of 7 years, where so far netted 2 top 10s, both in 2021 and both for Richmond Club Motorsports. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but both Carden's and Clubb's goals should pretty much be the same as most of the other previously mentioned drivers. For Lasser, the youngest of the 3, only 20 years old, I might be thinking a bit too optimistically, but if all goes well and doesn't get unlucky like last year at Talladega, a top 5 could definitely be in store for him. I also hope to see Braden get a few more opportunities in the Truck Series, as last year he made his debut with the Reum Brothers racing at Knoxville, and finished a decent 27th through laps off the leader. A few days removed from that, Fast Track Racing made it official that Zachary Tinkle will be driving the full ARCA East schedule in their number 11 car. Zachary's made 27 ARCA National starts, including all but 1 in last year's season, and brought to a 9th place finish in points. He has 1 top 10, which he earned in the 2021 Illinois State Fairgrounds race, and again, it really speaks to the current state of ARCA that his 8th place finish there came after he retired on lap 76 of 104 due to overheating problems. And he wasn't the highest finishing driver with a DNF. Anyway, that's not to disrespect Zachary whatsoever. He's only raced for extremely underfunded teams in his ARCA tenure so far, so hopefully in 2023, he'll be able to score a few real top 10s in races and contend for top 10 in points. After all that, it wasn't until December 9th when the first big team in ARCA released their 2023 plans. That came when Joe Gibbs Racing announced 16-year-old William Sawleek will compete for their flagship number 18 car for the full E-Series schedule, in addition to all the national ARCA events he's age eligible for. Although he's yet to make his ARCA debut, in 2022 he went on a tear across the US, winning 15 total late model features, including multiple events on the Cars Tour. William will also be the only active ARCA or NASCAR driver from Minnesota upon his debut, which is my home state, so I will definitely be rooting for him throughout his career. And by the way, he's got the E-Series Championship on lock. William Mullins indirectly made it known that he'll be returning with his own team in 2023, at least for the Daytona race. But if history repeats itself, he'll likely also be back for a few other events scattered throughout the season. He has past success at Daytona, coming in runner-up in the 2018 race and 8th in both the 2016 and 2020 races, so hopefully he's able to log another top 10 after having fallen short the past couple of years. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, Braden Lasser's super speedway efforts will be a combined effort between Mullins and Clubb's teams. Later on, Phoenix Racing announced Jake Finch will be returning part-time, and yes, that is the former Cup team Phoenix Racing, and no, they're not trying to make a comeback into NASCAR. Rather, Jake is the son of team owner James Finch, so at this point they're more or less a family-run team. Jake made his debut in all three ARCA series last year, but raced primarily in the East Series for Phoenix Racing, where in his 5 starts he scored a top 5 and 4 top 10s, including a very impressive pole and runner-up finish to Sammy Smith in the Nashville Fairgrounds race. He also signed on for 2 races with Venturini Motorsports, in which he came home 6th in the East race at Dover and 7th in the national race at Pocono. Based on his performance in 2022 and the fact that he's still only 17 years old, Jake definitely has good potential, and now with Sammy Smith moving to the Xfinity Series full-time, I think we'll see Finch pick up his first win in 2023. A few weeks back, Fast Track Racing once again dropped some big news, this time that DL Wilson will be competing full-time in the East Series. DL has made 30 starts in the National ARCA Series from 2018 to 2022, coming with a lone top 10 finish in the 2021 Illinois State Fairgrounds race. He was 16 laps off the pace, but hey, he was still running at the finish. Jokes aside, it sounds like Wilson and Fast Track are aiming high for the upcoming season, with the goals of more top 10s and even top 5s according to their announcement. Realistically, I'm not so sure about the top 5, but I think DL will definitely be capable of more top 10s, especially given how weak the East Series in particular has recently become. Also, it's not like DL has really raced 30 times in ARCA, as nearly half of his starts have ended in mechanical failures or were planned start-in parks. As I covered in my Silly Season Weekly recap last week, Caleb Costner announced that he'll be bringing back his family team's number 93 car for the season opener at Daytona, in addition to multiple other events in the National Series schedule. So far, Caleb has only ran 3 West Series races and 1 East Series race, all of which have come in the past 2 years. His best finish is a 13th in the 2022 East Series race at New Smyrna, where he went behind the wall after 47 of 200 laps due to overheating issues. Come on now, ARCA. And again, that's no disrespect to the driver. Also from last week's news segment, Eric Johnson Jr. will be racing part-time for Bill McAnally's team in the West Series. At only 19 years old, Eric has already worked as a spotter and crew member for the team and thus has earned his role as a driver the old-fashioned way. He has not yet competed in any NASCAR or ARCA events whatsoever. And now for all the news this week. Oh yeah, did I say there's hardly any ARCA news this off-season? Well, I was just talking about the big teams, because other than Joe Gibbs Racing and Bill McAnally Racing, there had only been announcements from underfunded or family-run teams up until this week. Anyway, first up, Venturini Motorsports, one of the most historic and successful ARCA teams still in existence, announced earlier in the week that Jesse Love Jr. will be racing full-time in the number 20 car. And he pretty much already has the championship locked up before the season even starts. Love is one of the top Toyota development drivers right now, as he won back-to-back West Series championships in 2020 and 2021 for Bill McAnally Racing, and he has 2 National Series wins under his belt with Venturini. In 2022, Love ran all the National Series events he was age eligible for, and in his 14 starts, he totaled his 1 win, 8 top 5s including 4 runner-ups, and 12 top 10s. With Sammy Smith and Corey Heim out of the series full-time at least, I expect to see Jesse win around a quarter of the National Series races, and without a doubt the championship. Venturini's only other, good driver that's been announced so far is Connor Jones, who at only 16 years old will be competing in 12 ARCA events at tracks he's age eligible for. He's driven in ARCA since 2021, where in 6 National Series races, 2 additional East races, and 2 West races, he's earned a best finish of 3rd in the 2022 East race at Dover. He's in top-of-the-line equipment, so if he wants to take the next step in his racing career, in my opinion, he'll need to win at least once in 2023. And now for the other Venturini drivers. Starting with Tony Breidinger, it was made official that she'll be returning for 11 National Series races after having been full-time with the team in 2022. Let's just say this demotion was well justified, because in the same cars that Corey Heim and Jesse Love Jr. were winning in, Tony only managed to finish in the lead lap in 4 of the 20 races. But to her credit, she wasn't a wreck magnet like the next driver we'll be talking about, as she only crashed out twice. That actually speaks pretty well to her consistency. Also, regardless of how weak the field sizes were in 2022, she did score 6 top 10s and come in 6th overall in points. I think in 2023, she'll at least need to collect a couple of top 5s if she wants to have any type of future in NASCAR. Next is Amber Balkan, who was announced yesterday to be running both of the Super Speedway races for Venturini, with more races to be decided at a later date. Like for Tony, 2022 was also Amber's first full-time season in the National ARCA Series, and competing for Rhett Jones Racing, she also brought home 6 top 10s. But she crashed out 7 times. That would be abysmal for a 36-race Cup schedule, let alone ARCA. In her defense, most were technically not her fault, but at that point, with 4 crashes in a row between the Pocono and Watkins Glen races, who even cares? There's not enough bad luck in the world to justify that much destruction. So naturally, with that kind of season, she gets promoted to a better ride in 2023, albeit only part-time. Alright, whatever. A new team called Rise Motorsports popped up earlier in the week, or more so a rebranded team, as the former Tim Gallett Enterprises will be fielding one full-time car for Rita Gallett and Stephen Light. Oh yeah, there's a lot to break down on this one. First of all, to my knowledge, Tim Gallett Enterprises only made one official start as a team in the ARCA Menard Series this past year at Milwaukee, where they finished 25th due to an engine failure. Their driver in that race was then Rita Thomason, but over the offseason she ended up marrying Tim and now goes by Rita Gallett. Rita's only raced 4 times in ARCA, all of which have come to the National Series in 2022, where in addition to the Milwaukee race, she competed at Berlin and Mid-Ohio for club racing, and at Watkins Glen for Wayne Peterson Racing. Unfortunately, every single one of those races ended in her going behind the wall with some type of mechanical failure. For 2023, hopefully she'll be able to get some good experience running the full races, and maybe even getting her first top 10. And then there's Stephen Light, a veteran driver in NASCAR, the 2012 Cup Series Rookie of the Year, and a past Xfinity Series winner, who will also be driving the 31 machine on a part-time basis. The last time we saw him on track was back in 2021 when he competed in 5 Xfinity races for NBM Motorsports, but after not racing at all in 2022, I thought he'd surely either retired or just unable to continue funding his racing career. So when this news dropped, I was pretty shocked to say the least, as nowadays it's pretty much unheard of for any NASCAR drivers to drop back to race primarily in ARCA. Anyway, I think if his equipment is competitive at all, Steven will immediately be in the running for top 5s and top 10s, and maybe even a win on a super speedway. This is the team I'm most excited to follow heading into 2023, even with some of the huge announcements yet to come. Next up is AM Racing, who announced a few days back that Christian Rose will pilot their number 32 car full-time in the National Series. This comes as part of AM's 2023 expansion to both the Xfinity Series and ARCA, which will also see him ally with Stewart-Haas Racing and switch manufacturers from Chevy to Ford. In their announcement, it was also mentioned that Christian will be making his Truck Series debut for AM at some point this season. Christian has only raced in ARCA since 2021, and in his 8 National Series starts, 4 additional East Series starts, and 3 additional West Series starts, he has recorded 5 top 10s. The whole time, he only competed for Cook Racing Technologies, which is the former Chad Finley racing team, so I would hazard a guess he was not in winning equipment. Given that, 2023 will be a make-or-break year for Christian. A win would definitely help his chances of moving into the NASCAR ranks, but at minimum, I think he needs to score multiple top 5s in races and finish top 5 in points. And finally, probably the only reason the ARCA Menard Series has gotten any mainstream attention in the past 10 to 15 years at least, famous actor Frankie Muniz has been confirmed to drive for Rhett Jones Racing for the full season. Most known for his role in Malcolm in the Middle and to me for voicing Chester in Fairly Odd Parents, Frankie's had a rather long career in sports car racing, but only recently has he ventured into stock car racing. For the past few years, he's driven a late model for ARCA West team High Point Racing, and in 2022, he participated in the ARCA pre-race test session at Daytona to obtain a super speedway license. So honestly, Frankie's more qualified to race full-time for a good ARCA team than a lot of other drivers who are right now. As already mentioned, Rhett Jones Racing was a team that Amber Balkin ran full-time with last year, and on the rare occasion she wasn't wrecking, she was usually running the top 10. The team also has a few wins in the East Series, most recently with Max Gutierrez in 2021, so needless to say, Frankie isn't getting the short end of the stick in terms of equipment. I seriously doubt we'll see him get a win in 2023, but with the state of ARCA right now, who knows? No matter how he performs, this deal will bring a lot of good and much needed publicity to NASCAR and especially the ARCA, so it'll probably be a win-win. I said that was the last announcement, but just as I was finishing up recording this video, Rev Racing came out with their 2023 drivers, Andres Perez de Lara and LeVar Scott. Although not official yet, it looks like Andres will be running full-time the National Series and LeVar will be running full-time the East Series. LeVar has not yet competed in any ARCA events, however last season, Andres made his first 3 ARCA starts for David Gilliland Racing and he did really well. He finished 7th in the National Series Bristol race, but then went on to finish runner-up in the West Series Bullring race and 3rd in the West Series Phoenix race. So while I still think Jesse Love and William Sauerleik will win their respective series championships, Andres and LeVar will definitely give them a run for their money. But that's all for the 2023 ARCA silly season as we've been making this video. In the coming weeks, we can expect a few more announcements such as who will drive the Joe Gibbs racing car in the races that William Sauerleik isn't eligible for, and who will be the other part-time Venturini drivers. But that's really it, because GMS Racing will no longer be fielding an ARCA car at all, and from what it sounds like right now, TRICON Garage, formerly known as David Gilliland Racing, will either be part-time or also leaving completely in 2023. In the description, I'll be including the entry list for this year's pre-race Daytona test session, which should give you guys a pretty good idea of what other drivers will unofficially be racing this season. Some notables there include Connor Mozak with Joe Gibbs Racing, Gus Dean with Venturini, and Joe Graff Jr. with Emerling Gaze Motorsports. That is all I've got to say for today, though. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, as you won't want to miss out on any more videos like these, or on my weekly silly season news recaps. Just saying, not to brag of course, but on my news recap from 2 weeks ago, I covered the rumors of Frankie Muniz racing in ARCA full-time, and some of my predictions from last week are also coming true, so tune into those if you want to know what's going on in NASCAR before it's officially announced. But yeah, that's all, so until next time, peace out.